What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to the channel. The Storm's Brewing Update 2.0 is incoming to experimental mode with 7 days to die. And of course, that means that there is going to be a streamer weekend. That's going to start tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., but let's take a look through the patch notes. Now, the Fun Pimps did give Wayward Echo access to the build earlier to do this awesome patch note video. I will link that and a link to the patch notes themselves down in the description below so that you can fully check them out. First things first, the experimental version is launching on Monday, June 16th. There will be a streamer weekend starting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time, rolling through until the regular Steam experimental goes public. And then the update is scheduled to launch out of experimental into stable on PC and consoles on Monday, June 30th. Of course, if there's any major bugs or certification issues, that will end up being delayed. Now, this particular update brings quite a few things, starting off with Biome Progression. With the new Biome Progression option enabled, all biomes except the Pine Forest will have a unique environmental hazard to overcome. The key here is with it enabled, so if you don't like the Biome Progression, you can turn that off. Like a Boy Scout earning a merit badge, complete challenges to learn about each biome's inhabitants and resources. When a biome's challenges are completed, a biome badge can be collected at any nearby trader. Here are the biomes listed in their order of severity. The Pine Forest, of course, is the starting biome. The Burnt Forest combat the hot embers and thick blade smoke. The desert, overcome the extreme heat. The snow, surviving the freezing temperatures and wind chill. And the wasteland, conquer the high radiation fallout. Now, as they showed in their dev stream and in Wayward Echo's video, how this works is there is a timer. When you go into a biome for the first time, there will be a short grace period telling you, hey, pay attention. And then after this timer is over, you are going to start taking damage. This can be mitigated by completing the original challenges. Now, you will want to get out of the biome if you're taking any sort of damage to make sure you can get those challenges completed. I got mixed emotions on how it all works with the loot stage cap. We'll get into that in a moment. At first, I was thinking maybe it's worth it just to instantly rush the Burnt Forest as soon as you start the game and then go back to the Pine Forest with the increased loot stage cap. But remember, this is a loot stage cap, not the loot stage itself. So if you're not at the loot stage cap, like when you very first start, pushing through to the Burnt Forest is not necessarily going to help you out if you have the intention of going back to the Pine Forest. Now, of course, if you want to tough it out in the Burnt Forest, you are going to get that biome multiplier, raising your loot stage cap. There are 7 challenges for each hazardous biome. Wearing specific armor or obtaining the previous biome's badge, harvesting biome-specific resources, crafting remedies to increase your hazard resistance, mining biome-specific resources, killing biome-specific enemies, looting in the biome, and then spending a specific amount of time in the biome. Now, it says here, crafting remedies to increase your hazard resistance. This does come in the form of smoothies, and from what they showed on the dev stream, it looks like you can craft these right out of your inventory with like no campfire or anything required. The Biome Progression loot stage cap, in addition to the biome hazards, each biome will have a progressive loot stage cap. This will help to encourage players to explore each biome and seek out higher tiered loot. Loot caps are increased by progressing forward through each biome's challenges. Caps are automatically increased when you enter into a harder biome. To raise the cap in the current biome, complete the next higher biome's challenges. Like for me personally, I'm a big fan of the desert biome and even the snow biome. So by completing the challenges, say in the wastelands, that is going to raise the loot stage cap so that it'll be higher while I'm in the desert or in the snow. The loot cap is off if the Biome Progression option is disabled. So once again, if you don't want to use Biome Progression and you turn it off, the loot stage cap is turned off as well. Biome resources got a little bit of a change about where they spawn. To encourage biome exploration, dominant ore types have been redistributed across the world. Each biome now favors a specific ore. Iron in the pine forest, potassium nitrate in the burnt forest, oil shale in the desert, coal in the snow biome, and lead in the wasteland. While all ores will still be available in low volumes everywhere, going to the correct biome, you're going to significantly increase the amount of nodes that you find. There's a dynamic storm system added in, which is quite interesting. Now, you do get protection from these storms when you enter cover. It's important to note that the storm system is not the same as the Biome Progression system. So if you get your badge and you run indoors during a storm, you're going to be protected during that storm. However, if you don't have the badge yet and a storm comes and you run inside, you will be protected from the storm, but you will not be protected from the normal Biome Progression multiplier if you haven't completed the challenges there. So there's going to be thunderstorms in all biomes that cause no damage to players. The burnt forest is going to have an ember storm. The desert is going to have a sandstorm. There's going to be a snowstorm in the snow biome, and then a radiation storm in the wasteland biome. So these are going to do pretty heavy amounts of damage. You will be able to craft some protection to help you out against these, but the key here, I think, is going to be to get indoors. Storms will occur occasionally with some random variation in time and can last for several minutes. The storm frequency option adjusts how often storms appear or occur, ranging from 0%, where storms are completely disabled, up to 500% with 5 times more frequent storms. So you do have control over this in the settings itself. When a storm begins, the following will happen. The player will hear a warning siren accompanied by a message on the top of the screen: storm warning, seek shelter, or storm warning, leave biome, depending on if a player has earned their biome badge. The HUD message is accompanied by a 60-second timer. After the 6 timer expires, it's going to change to seek shelter now or leave biome now, and then you're going to start taking damage. Now, there will be a buff timer on screen that will show you when the damage is going to hit. As it ticks down, you will take damage every time it ticks down to 0. Important thing to note again, even though I've covered it, if you've not gained your biome badge, seeking shelter only protects you from the storm. The biome hazards will still be active and can still kill you. There has been an update to Navigaine. Navigaine has got a makeover to work seamlessly with the new Biome Progression system. Biome boundaries and trader POI positions were updated to improve travel times between large POI townships. One important thing to note here with Navigaine is not every POI in the game is on Navigaine. They confirmed this on their dev stream, and there's just too many POIs to fit on that one map. So not every POI is going to be in Navigaine. Now we've got some higher tiered zombies. Radiated zombies are no longer the top of the food chain. And then we've got some special zombies. Plague Spitter is a new special infected desert zombie that will vomit a swarm of insects which attack the player. You can take these insects out with melee weapons, and they're going to be a lot more effective than trying to shoot at it. The Frost Claw in the snow biome, a new special infected snow zombie that has a long-range boulder throw attack that does radius splash damage. This also does damage to blocks or your surrounding area. So if you're doing Horde Night in the snow biome and you get some Frost Claws, watch out, because your base could end up taking some damage. And then to scale up from the radiated zombies, there's now charged blue zombies, a new higher game stage radiated blue class of zombies that turn, attack, and run faster than radiated zombies, and they do more damage. Then there's going to be some infernal orange zombies, which are the top tier, a newer higher game stage radiated orange class of zombies that are slower and tankier than the radiated green zombies, and they do more block damage. So the blue zombies are going to run faster and do more damage to you, where the orange zombies are going to run slower, be super tanky, and they're going to do increased block damage. There was some changes to zombie spawn improvements. They've added functionality to allow zombies to spawn and crawl out of smaller spaces. A 1-block area. They showed this quite a bit on the dev stream. This means all of the current meta Horde Night bases will likely need to get a few tweaks, and I, for one, that's my favorite aspect of the game, is Horde Night, so I'm very excited to play around with that and see what's working in 2.0. There was a complete overhaul to perks. A lot of perks were moved around. Perks were also changed where they all have the same amount of levels. So all attributes, of course, are going to have 10 perks. Each perk is going to have 5 levels. So the levels will be spread out across. There are some super, super interesting perks in here. Pack Mule being one of them. Of course, this is bucket tier in the past, as, you know, you just didn't want to waste points on Pack Mule. Pack Mule now increases the crafting speed of items in your inventory and adds a chance to ignore physical damage when hit. If I read that correctly, it goes up to 50%. So Pack Mule is going to be pretty darn good. That is for sure. 50% damage reduction. You can't complain about that. There was a lot of survivability through like damage reduction and then like siphoning strikes in the Fortitude tree, where melee kills grant HP per level that you've got spec'd into it. Now, it's been a long time coming, but we finally got a book series for the Sledgehammers. So if you're a fan of Sledgehammers, the Sledgehammer Saga is coming and has some very interesting unlocks through maxing out the books. Of course, the completionist bonus, refill your stamina with each power attack kill. That is absolutely enormous for Sledgehammers. There's going to be some cosmetic additions added in, so you can wear the armor set you want, but you can choose how you look. In addition to that, when 2.0 does officially launch at the end of the month, there's going to be a Twitch Drops campaign as well, which will be pretty awesome. And they also included DLC, so there should be some DLC cosmetics as well. The trees and foliage have been updated. This should all have a big effect on optimization, from the wind and how the trees blow to how densely they're packed together in certain areas. There was a trees and foliage update, and then POIs. Of course, we couldn't have a 7 Days to Die update without some more POIs, and there are 140 POIs coming, the majority of these being smaller tier 0 remnants. However, there is 3 new tier 5 wilderness POIs, the bunker, a mine, and a quarry. 2 of those were shown on live stream and look pretty darn interesting. With that note too, the way zombie spawning and the being able to pass through a 1-block area, that means that the tier 4 and tier 5 POIs that we already know are going to feel very, very different, as zombies are going to be spawning in new spots throughout those POIs. There was also some improvements to random generation. So town tiles and wilderness POIs use separate terrain smoothing distances and are shorter to keep more height variations in the world. Wilderness POI spawning has been improved, allowing a lot more wilderness POIs to spawn, and their spawn locations have better random positioning. Wilderness road generation uses improved pathing and can now connect along the length of other wilderness roads. Towns now have independent elevations, and wilderness POI elevations use a better calculation. And then they fixed the terrain height accuracy, which sometimes was causing problems. The visuals on using item in your hand was changed. Some of these are greatly improved. From pill bottles and steroids up to opening cans of food. There's a new quest marker. One of the important things for servers and for playing with your friends is there's now spawn near a friend, which that to me just feels absolutely huge. Not having to run across the world to get to the spot where your friend spawned so you can start playing together. There is some Discord implementation as well. Of course, we're all kind of it's natural to use Discord voice chat nowadays. However, they did incorporate Discord into the game, so there will be some Discord implementation inside 7 Days to Die. And then here is one of the biggies, if not the biggest, in my personal opinion. I've got lots of friends that play on consoles, whether it be PlayStation, Xbox, wherever, and we can't ever play together. Well, that is no longer going to be a thing. There will be crossplay on dedicated servers, so when we get that community center fired up, or that community server fired up again for 2.0, then that is going to include crossplay. So very exciting stuff there. There are some restrictions on the crossplay, the main one being you can only have 8 players at a time on a map. This I don't think is too terrible. I know some people are a little upset about that want to play with larger groups. There was a ton of changes to audio, and there is now DLSS upscaling for NVIDIA graphics card users. And then there's been some performance changes to the game itself, just to make the game run a little bit smoother. So looking forward to tomorrow. I'll be live right at the start of Streamer Weekend, and I absolutely cannot wait. As I mentioned, I will link the patch notes and Wayward Echoes video down in the description below. They're both worth a look, and Wayward Echoes video is pretty darn awesome, so definitely check that one out. But that will do it for now. Thanks a ton, and have a wonderful rest of your day. We will see you tomorrow for some Zombo killing.